What's up, YouTube? KB Cooper here, and it has been a long time, and honestly, I've made so many videos about me coming back and forth between YouTube. It is E3, and it is time for me to break the rust off the wheels and get back into the swing of things. And right now, that means talking about EA's E3 press conference. So without further ado, I'm going to go in order of basically how the press conference went, what I thought about the different announcements and things within that, show some B-roll because I can't get monetized because I don't have enough views/subscribers, so who cares if I get copyright striked? I'm not making money anyway, so we're going to put all that content in there. But I'm going to give you my hot take within the games, the news, the tone, just kind of give it an overall grade of just how I feel about what they said and what they presented on that stage today. So first thing, EA opened with Battlefield 5, and for those of you who don't know, Battlefield is pretty much tried and true to itself every year, and I think the big thing is with it being in World War II, and they seem to be the only players within World War II settings this year, it's definitely going to be much appreciated, and it's going to stick out on its own, and it's not going to feel like a World War I, World War II situation that we may have had between Call of Duty and Battlefield last year, so I'm excited about that. I think the biggest part of that I pulled, like Battle Royale, new game modes, whatever, new trailer, like it's all the same old for Battlefield. So if you like Battlefield, you're going to like this game. I don't think this is necessarily going to tip anybody over. They did mention Battle Royale gameplay style, and I think the big thing with that is I'm just gonna throw this out there, like as much as I love PUBG, as much as I love Fortnite, there are some specific things that Battlefield engine is going to be able to bring to the table that I think finally gives this entire concept polish beyond reason, and it's going to be an amazing game type to play within that engine. So it's just something to consider there. But the other big thing here is that destructible environment is like full-fledged. We were watching tanks tear through houses, and that is just something that's got me super excited. There, you know, that level of detail to the map, and if we are able to have that plus Battle Royale game type, I mean, they didn't say anything about player count from what I can tell when I rewatched the press conference, so that might be the big hold off, is like how many players are we able to fit in doing this. But there's just been so many great things coming out of that, and this is the first time I've actually been like super excited about a Battlefield game, because honestly in the past it has not been my franchise. It's a game that I normally buy and play, but I play the campaign and I vary from there. So I think this is going to be the one that maybe holds me for a couple more months after release. After that, they showed off some FIFA 19, and for FIFA fans, it probably looked more of the same. Great FIFA, great soccer, great graphics. I don't know much about this franchise, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. Seems that EA knows what they are doing within that FIFA realm, and that they're kind of untouchable in a degree. I know there's like the PES Soccer and a couple other franchises within that, but I think EA really knows what they're doing with FIFA. They're delivering on what fans want, from what I can tell, but once again, I am not immersed in that, that gameplay. And then we moved into kind of something that, honestly, this is my highlight of the entire press conference. As somebody who really loves Xbox Game Pass and how every Microsoft exclusive is bundled into that, I think it's really important to think about how that subscription service and that savings that I take into every year, and that value, I should say, not necessarily savings, but the value that I bring to my life every day with Game Pass is pretty immense when I think about the money that I would spend throughout the entire year to buy all these or play all these first-party exclusives. You know, if we consider Sea of Thieves at $60, and we consider State of Decay at $30, right? That's $90 of value right now. I've had a Game Pass for 3 months, and I've already got $90 of value out of it, and I've already started playing other games within that collection and experiencing other things where I'm not having to go and buy those games. So immediately I recognize value in subscription service, and I understand that it's done for the retention of player and having somebody continually come back, consume your content, and stay within your ecosystem. But I think EA is leveraged to really provide a unique experience with that. Mainstay titles like Anthem, FIFA 19, Madden 19, which they announced, this has been decades since we've had a Madden on PC. So that really tells me there's more an investment on focusing on PC. And then bringing over 100 different titles from EA or other partner publishers through this subscription service. At this point, I'll have to do more research and I'll update as needed, but I have not seen any price points of this. Even if this was like $10 a month, maybe even $15, You know, it really depends on the math and how many games and time that I would have to put into this, but they are introducing that streaming platform, and I think it's important to make this comparison. A lot of people do have Hulu and Netflix, or Netflix and HBO Go. A lot of people have been conditioned or understand the value within having the subscription versus going out and buying or specifically consuming the content. Now, we could have a much larger conversation about how streaming content versus purchasing affects the creator, affects the market, affects the industry, but the reality is that streaming is here to stay and it's not going anywhere, and I think a lot of the next generation focuses will be on enhancing experience through streaming and services like this. And I think Microsoft and both EA have now solidified their focus and passion on what that streaming service is going to look like and how it's going to benefit us as gamers in overall value, the amount of experiences that we can now own within the year versus our money going to that. I think a big thing about this too is just take a look or think about how this affects retail and hard goods stores like GameStop, Best Buy, things like that. I mean, Amazon's still primed to succeed in this, but I think GameStop's going to get hit really even more because let's say the subscription service also allows you to be able to play the games early, maybe a week before. That's such a hit to retailers, and it's something to think about within the industry. Maybe I might make a video completely about that separately. We got a kind of a little big update from Respawn Entertainment in regards to the Star Wars game that they are working on. Vince Zampella didn't really want to say too much about it, but we did get a name for the title of the next game. So we did get a name of what Respawn Entertainment is working with in collaboration with LucasArts in regards to Star Wars, and that game's name is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, they said as much that this is taking place during the dark times where Jedi were being hunted, specifically between episode 3 and 4. Really excited to see what Respawn can do with that. You know, I think Respawn has made, or shown at least, that they can make exceptionally polished games in regards to Titanfall, but the big concern I have here is story. Now, knowing that they're working with specific teams on this to really make it a Star Wars focused thing, I think with the universe already being in place and what Respawn can do with that story is going to be something really exciting. So it was nice to see some more events and updates there. They said they would have more news for us around this time next year, and that they were aiming to get this game out by holiday 2019. Speaking of Star Wars, on top of that, we did get some updates on Star Wars Battlefront II. Now, as you guys know, this game did not launch with great hope, and it was received very negatively for some microtransactions and nasty player progression systems. EA did not shy away from the fact that that was a fumbled mess when they launched, and they even admitted, essentially, that they did not get it right the first time. Now, this is totally a save-face move. I'm not going to give them a ton of credit for realizing that their mistake was a mistake, even though we could have told them, and we had told them many times before, that that was a major mistake. And they seem to kind of make that mistake later on in the year with other titles as well, like UFC 2 and things like that. But at the end of the day, they've realized the mistake, and they are doubling down on their commitment to Star Wars Battlefront 2. A couple things that they are announcing, or that they kind of already implemented in the game, but they're building on. You know, they've got the new progression system, the Ewok mode, and they actually said that that was one of the most popular updates of the game. But they are currently in the Han Solo season, and that's going to feature exclusive content that is focused on the Han Solo movie and different things around that. So that'll be out within the next week or so within that. So if you guys have the game and you want to play some of that content, go for that. They are introducing a new squad system to the game, so it'll be easier for you to partner up with your friends and play. A new Starfighter mode. They announced a new large-scale multiplayer sandbox that includes command posts and capital ships that you got to take out. So that should be really fun. Sounds kind of like a conquest style thing that might lead from air to base or something like that. So I'm really excited to see what that's about. And then they did announce that they were going to have new heroes, villains, and maps based around the Clone Wars era. This is going to include, they touted one of the largest levels that they have ever built within the franchise. And we're going to see heroes like General Grievous, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Count Dooku, and Anakin Skywalker within that content. It just shows me that they understand that they've made a mistake, and they are really doubling down on what's going on here and making sure that people who did buy this game, I feel, are still getting value within it, and knowing that this is a game that is going to grow continually instead of us continuing to pump out new titles or iterations of the game. So as much as I don't want to give them too much credit, I was definitely excited to see that they were doubling down on what is here and kind of trying to save face with some good steps. After that, we got Unravel 2. It had a much heavier co-op focus. It didn't have any co-op focus in the original one, so now we do have co-op 2 in Unravel 2, but the game seemed to have a much lighter and playful tone to it, much more fast-paced versus the direct puzzle solving. A lot of it was kind of quick reaction, having fun, a little bit of chaotic. I could definitely see myself having a ton of fun couch co-op or even online with some of the interactions that we may see from that gameplay footage that you guys are watching here. Well, the other thing, though, I think is amazing, though, is that this game is now available to purchase and play today. So it's great when we get to see games, we get to see them fully fleshed out, but then to know that they are already ready, that is just such a great and exciting announcement. After that, we got another EA original, kind of in the light of A Way Out and other studios that are making amazing games that EA is kind of, really allowing to thrive or give focus to. We've got Sea of Solitude, or as they refer to it, SOS for short. This game is something that focuses more on kind of a mentality focus and darker thoughts, and essentially they quoted, "When humans get lonely, they turn into monsters," and this is a core theme of the game as you play as a young woman who has essentially turned into a monster through loneliness and is going through the journey within this world to find out how and if she can become human again. The game had an amazing looking art style and something that I was truly interested in, as you guys can see in this B-roll. Definitely has a unique feel and look to it, and it's something that I would like to get my hands on. They definitely talked about attempts to reflect different kind of loneliness, that they want players to have a good experience, but if they want to dig in, they can really find a deeper and darker story facing these issues. The game's really about facing inner demons is kind of my perception of it, but that's going to have an early February release next year, and just something I'm excited about. I like when EA and other companies are spotlighting these indie developers and indie studios. I mean, we're getting really great experiences out of these things like A Way Out, and this game just looks like they're going to continue to add on this, and it's a great addition to the EA franchise. Next couple things, just really quick. NBA Live 19. Honestly, a game that I've never been interested in, as I just really don't play sports games, but at least this year from the trailer, I definitely got a vibe that they're learning from a lot of their mistakes over the last years. I know this game hasn't been received very well from basketball fans, and it's just when you've got the king of the hill, of NBA 2K, it's just why challenge it, but EA continues to do so, and I think they're learning how to make themselves stand out. Seemed like they had some really cool concepts within like shoe collection, different themes that are outside of the traditional NBA courts, and kind of building a career or a story around that. But they didn't really actually talk about it too much on stage. They just kind of showed a trailer, said September, and moved on from there. So I don't think they had a lot to say about it, but it was there. They had a really cringy showing of Madden 19, kind of a quick, cool montage in my opinion of how they were taking esports and bringing people up and through the ranks, and how this gentleman's story of him winning the Madden 2018 championship, and he was on stage. But it was kind of this cringy interaction where there was just trash talk about the journey of him getting there, but not a lot of talk about the game itself. But we did get a flashy trailer that shows off how beautiful Madden's going to look, as it always does every year. From the Command & Conquer family of games, we actually got to see this kind of unique mobile experience that includes kind of a gameplay style similar to Clash Royale, but definitely mixing its own themes, economy, RTS strategies to the mobile game. Don't have a lot to say about this either, but it definitely looked really interesting, and I'm excited to try it on my iPad. It's definitely a game that I think I could get down on and really enjoy some of those experiences. It seemed that there may be a card system in place similar to what we may have seen in Halo Wars 2, or something similar to Clash Royale as well, but you're going to have essentially these 3 control points. The more control points that you have, you're going to earn these, this timer on a missile, and whoever has the most influence, I should say, on that missile, if you have enough influence on it, that missile will launch. Every player on both sides of the field has 2 bars of health. A missile would take out that health. It's going to be launching on a kind of Android first through an alpha that you can search and download right now, and coming to iOS later down the road. Before they moved on to the next part, or kind of the biggest or most hyped up part of this press conference, EA did take time to talk about representation and inclusiveness within their industry, within the games, and how they're really doubling down with some nonprofits and other organizations to bring a focus to this. Normally I would say this is company virtue signaling, because I think a lot of companies say something but then do something else. I think EA has kind of been, in my opinion, somebody who has virtue signaled in the past and acted like they were bringing diverse and inclusive things when really it was just one studio and part of their game, but not EA as a company. They mentioned numbers and money that they had paid within this, and I think that it speaks a lot when they are actually doubling down with these organizations and not just shouting them out, but also putting money where their mouth is. And I'm proud of EA for taking a stand here. I definitely think, it's got self-influence and selfish purpose to do so, but they are putting their money where their mouth is, and I can't argue with that too much. At the end of the day, representation is really important in games, and I think with Battlefield 5 and all the backlash that we got, it's kind of ridiculous that we have to have this conversation, but we do, and it's not there yet, and EA realizes that. And it was nice that they took time out of their E3 press conference to bring a spotlight to it and just really inform people who are a fan of their franchises, this is where we're going, and if you're not about it, then you're against it. And I think, though it may leave people decisive, it's okay if they're not on the train. Lastly, we dove really deep into Anthem, or I shouldn't say really deep. We got to see a lot more of Anthem, but at the end of the day, it didn't seem like too much more than we had seen last year. We definitely got to see gameplay with an applied HUD, and it helped me realize what that game is going to look and feel like. We got to better understand some of the javelins. We know now that there's going to be like customization skins and different things within the game to really make a unique experience for you. Those will be microtransactions, but they will not be loot boxes. You know exactly what you're getting when you spend your money on those things. So, and no influence to gameplay or ability. So they definitely are taking what they learned from the Star Wars Battlefront II mistakes and applying that across the board within EA. They also talked about some things within multiplayer and story and how that's going to work in this shared universe. Essentially, all events, the weather, the time of day, this is going to be part of a shared world. Your experience is always going to be aligned with somebody else, very similar to something like Destiny or an MMO like World of Warcraft. But they said the big distinguisher here is that if you want that single-player experience, when you're going back to kind of your base or your fort in a sense, you are going to trigger the cutscenes, the story development, things that really personalize your experience within that game. And when you go out into the open world, it's kind of gloves off, and you can really experience that whether you want it to be a multiplayer experience or a single-player experience, but you can go and really push forward what you want to accomplish within that world. They made sure to make mention that this game is going to be harder if you choose to solo it, but that you can play this game solo, and they tried to find a balance within players who do not necessarily want to connect with other players, but may still want to play this game. And they also mentioned that if you do want to play it multiplayer, they've really tried to craft a truly unique experience. A lot of this is just marketing talk and things like that, but I do think from the gameplay that I saw, this is definitely going to be a game on my list. I align it with things like Destiny, The Division, and I think it's a really unique setting for us to explore. And honestly, the suits, the Javelin suits, which they did announce the 4 different types, that's going to be the Ranger, Colossus, Interceptor, and Storm, and they showed awesome gameplay about how these suits will differ, as you can see in the B-roll here. At the end of the day, I am really excited about Anthem, but I'm trying not to hop on the hype train too much. I really trust BioWare with the games that they create, and I've seen some already negative backlash where people think that game showing was trash. They think EA's entire press conference was off, and I just think, as much as I don't like a fanboy, I also don't like somebody who's just straight negative for no reason. I think I see people saying it's bad, but then not actually backing it up for anything, and it's really easy to hate on EA right now. They're in a weak position. A lot of what EA showed today at least showed me that they know what franchises are strong, and they're hyper-consolidating what they want to put forward in front of us instead of spreading their experiences too thin. We didn't see things pushed down our throat from like mobile across the board. I think they really knew what people wanted to see this year. Sports, Battlefield 5, Anthem, get it out the door. And then they still had some present surprises with Unravel 2 being available that day, as well as the focus on Sea of Solitude. Announcing their subscription service makes EA stand out as a publisher that's forward-thinking on how we're going to consume content in the future and how we're going to take value in the games that we're playing. And that's definitely going to change the way the industry looks at things. And I think EA is looking to be more of an influential player in the mindshare space and influence than they are necessarily about making great games. But that's not bad, and I think they're still making great games in the background of all of that, and that there are still things in the pipeline that are going to be really fun to experience next year. All in all, if I had to give EA a grade, I'd give them a B. I think it was a pretty good conference, but it had some cringy moments, and overall, they skipped over details that in the past I thought have really made them stand out about how they're working on their games and telling gamers the value that they're getting within those franchises. But also, they benefited from not droning on about things that I don't care about, so I'm really torn on how I feel about that, but I just kind of was happy, but not amazingly shocked or surprised by anything. There's nothing that they showed me on this stage today that I didn't expect or haven't really seen in my life before, and they didn't blow me away. So it would be a little wrong for me to feel like, oh, give them an A, they did great, bravo. But they didn't do bad, and they definitely hit on a lot of things that I wanted them to hit on. So I think a B is a pretty fair grade to give their press conference. I'm going to try and do this content for every press conference that goes through this weekend. But if you guys watched to this point, I really appreciate you listening and going through my take on this E3 press conference. If you guys want me to focus on any specific things that I had mentioned in this, any specific breakout videos of games that you would like me to discuss, let me know and I'll be happy to accommodate to the best of my ability. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. You have a great rest of your day.